It's about the why. So with a big enough why, you'll find the how. You know what I mean? And that's where you take the chances, the gambles, the risk, and things like that. But as long as you have that why that's fueling you, everything else falls into place. You find the hard work, you find the discipline, you find the intelligence. The intelligence comes from fucking up and being like, okay, that doesn't work, right? And then going back to the accountability, what can I do differently this time?
Hey guys, check out the 2023 Street Cop Conference, April 23rd through the 28th, Gaylord Convention Center. It's going to be the event of the year. Keynote speakers include Rob O'Neill, the guy who killed Bin Laden, Kyle Carpenter, the youngest living Medal of Honor recipient, Navy SEAL Jason Redmond, Fox News host Tommy Lahren, Marine Corps Special Forces and Leadership Coach Cody Alford, Sheriff Wayne Ivey, Sheriff David Clark, and Sheriff Mark Lamb. It's going to be one hell of an event. And on top of that, we have all of our instructors and additional instructors from other companies going to be at the event, giving you everything they know for you to have a successful career and get the results you want to get in the field as a police officer. On top of attending the event, you'll get face-to-face time with every instructor attending the event, and all the keynote speakers will spend time with you. We got special events all week, giveaways, nightlife. It's going to be really, really worth your time, energy, and effort. I promise you, you will not regret it for a second. To register for the conference, check out streetcop.com, click conference, and everything you need will be there on the homepage. If you are looking for a room, just click book a room. The block has been sold out at the Gaylord Opryland Convention Center, but there are many hotels nearby within a walking distance of the event. You don't want to miss out on this opportunity. We will see you there.
111, 110.
You training to be a street cop?
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Street Cop Training Podcast. I'm your host, founder, and CEO of Street Cop Training. My name is Dennis Benino, and today's a selfish podcast for me because we have somebody who actually changed my life. A lot of people, if you're from New Jersey, know who this motherfucker is. We both come from the same town. We actually didn't meet until we were in our 30s. Actually, you might have been in your 20s still at that time.
Yeah, probably, about 10 years ago?
I met you in 2014.
Yeah, 28, probably 28 years old.
Yeah, you're 28, 29. Yeah. I was 31, 32 around that time. And anybody who drives the New Jersey Turnpike, Garden State Parkway, Route 33, anywhere they have billboards, you'll see a sign that says Rob sells New Jersey. And I don't want to start giving you fucking like incorrect stats, but he's a big fucking deal. If you don't think he is, go to the real estate conference where everybody tries to fucking grab his wiener while he's trying to blow $1 million in craps. Right? You're a psychopath in the fucking Atlantic City.
Not like I used to be. I've toned it back a little bit, but I've done some damage.
You're a wild dude. You're not even like my friend when you're there.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, yo, what's up? You're like, what's up?
Yeah.
And like, don't even bother you.
Don't talk to me.
You're a fucking psycho.
Blackjack's an 8-hour shift.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've seen this motherfucker like, he don't want to know nobody.
Right.
My friend Jeremy went, my friend Jeremy,
yeah,
right? I went golfing with him. He's like, dude, come golfing. We'll chop it up.
Uh-huh.
He gets in the fucking golf course. I'm like ready to shoot it. I'm like, we're going to talk business. Let's talk about like numbers and what. Didn't say a word. Played golf like a fucking lunatic the whole time. Didn't utter a peep. I'm like, you're a fucking dick. He's like, I'm fucking focused on the game, bro. He's like, just stop talking.
It's not about having fun. It's about winning.
Yeah, dude. But anyway, another my pal here, Rob Decanski. So, dude, tell us, a little about who you are and your background, bro. I know you're gonna be fucking modest as fuck, and don't make me make you not modest.
I mean, it's a modest story. I don't think it's anything, no different than you, right? I born and raised in Jersey, but son of immigrants. Parents came from Poland. My grandfather brought my dad over here and his siblings when he was in high school. He met my mom in her 20s, and they moved here and just did the the hard-working immigrant thing, and that's the story. They raised me only speaking Polish. I didn't speak English. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when I started school, I was definitely behind. I just slept in class, couldn't understand a word they were saying.
No shit, dude.
Yeah, my parents figured if I learned Polish, as long as it wasn't like a half moron, I'd learn English eventually. So I was like developmentally delayed until I got to kind of like 3rd or 4th grade. And then next thing you know, I got some traction. And
shit, dude.
Yeah.
You did it to your brother too?
Well, my brother, the thing was my brother wasn't raised or wasn't babysat by the same people that babysat me. At that point, we had like more of the Americanized kind of babysitters who's my little brother. So for me, it was a little bit more authentic, Polish, grandparents raising me, things like that. Got away from him a little bit, so not as Polish as me. And but it was... it was something. I wouldn't change it for the world, I wouldn't change it for the world. It was great.
And dude, your mother retired from the post office, right? Your father from FedEx?
That's right.
Yeah. And You know, it's interesting. We grew up in the same town, and what people don't know about Rob is a real estate super fucking hero in the state of New Jersey. People literally worship the ground he walks on and try to pick up any fucking advice they can from him, which I'm sure that gets daunting after a while, trying to have everybody try to suck fucking juice out of you. Because when you have, I mean, let's face facts, dude, with all humility, you have a lot of success. I mean, you know, the awards, the notoriety, all that shit. And the important thing I want people to know is why I have him on this show is that he changed my life. And I've tried to convey this to him 100 fucking times. He never wants to hear it because he's a modest motherfucker. But I don't think he intentionally changed my life. I think I just got to see a different side of life and business and behavior than what I was used to from a guy who grew up in the same town that I grew up in, which was lower middle class.
Sure.
I mean, everybody's lower middle class. The things that were condoned growing up in the town that we grew up in were kind of absurd now as you're an adult and you're looking at some of that shit. You're just like, dude, I remember like going to my friend's house and the Spice Channel being on and his like parents just being there, right? They just didn't care. They're like, yeah, whatever, you guys can watch porn. We're like 11.
Right.
You guys can watch porn if you want.
Right.
Like shit that you wouldn't see, you know, in most places. Like it was just a fucking weird, like I think everybody in my neighborhood's dad was a lunatic, right? Like I can remember all my friends' fathers being psychos.
Right. Yep.
Dude, like, and that was it, dude. Like they all get together and fucking, listen, they were great people. I'm just saying like, it was a different, so to see the level of success that you had, dude, from there is interesting. So, you know, I don't know how you did in high school because I'm a few years older than you, and we were separated then. But tell me about that journey. Let's go right into you're at high school, you're hustling. A lot of people who listen to this podcast are hustlers and they want to know about business. We do small business podcast shit.
Sure.
We have people on who are in business. We've done things like giving them advice and where they should go next and try to collab. So tell us about that, dude. I know you were hustling shit in high school and how that transformed into like what you did after school.
Absolutely. So I'd say it all goes back to kind of how we were raised, and basically, you know the deal, right? Our parents worked hard, they paid the bills, save up all year, you know, afford a vacation, right? Afford a little bit extra, but not too much else to go around. You eat home every day, you don't waste money, you save what you can. So whenever I wanted something, me and my brother wanted something, we normally had to go work for it, right? And that's what we were taught. Our parents were like, all right, you want to go work for it, right? So of course, when you're a kid, it's raking leaves, cutting grass, shoveling snow, right? That's it. And then from there, you know, you get the jobs, but even with the jobs, I had hustles going. So I always had a few things floating at once. In high school, we started, you know, burning CDs, burning Dreamcast games, modding PlayStations, you know, anything I could sell in school, candy, right? All that type of stuff. Just kind of any way you could kind of, you know, make things happen, add value, right? You know, you're giving someone a good deal and you get something in return. It's a win-win.
I love it,
It's a win-win, yeah.
Dude, I can't tell you many things I was fucking doing. And I tell people, like, I was working. I had no perspective. Nobody ever, like, the internet wasn't around. I tell people in class sometimes, like, guys, there was no resources in the early 2000s, late 90s. Like, unless you were going to the library or at that time, maybe Barnes & Noble they were starting to open.
Okay.
They weren't closing, right?
Yeah.
How long has Barnes & Noble been open? I imagine the 90s is when they started opening, right?
I used to go there in high school, late 90s so I didn't want to buy the books. I didn't have the money. I mean, I could save up for a book, but I didn't want to spend the money on all the books I wanted to buy.
Right.
Go there, buy a coffee, and I'd read what I wanted to read to learn about business and real estate and things like that.
Dude.
Yeah.
I want to go into that
Sit
too.
there for hours, yeah.
Dude, I had so many hustles that, again, I can't even talk about some of those things.
Sure.
I don't want to say, I'm not saying selling drugs.
Yeah.
But I am saying that, like, I did work at a lot of places that probably their inventory probably wasn't doing super hot.
I get it.
Dude, I remember, like, my parents coming down in the basement to my parents' house. And my father's like, why do we have 2 gallons of honey mustard sauce in the basement? I'm like, I don't know. Work had a little extra. What do I tell you? Well, that was fucking 25 years ago. I'm sure the statute of limitations is up on that.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah, dude.
So we're good then.
Dude, we're talking about times when I was 14, 15. We're telling stories from when we were kids 25, 30 years ago. I think everybody has a story.
Sure.
You know, I don't do things that are illegal now. It's just, there's that saying, like, if criminals knew how easy it was to make money legit, they would probably all go legit.
Right.
Right? Because once you start understanding the momentum of developing and making revenue in a business sense, you know, once you understand it, do you think you could ever be stopped now? With at least making more money than most people ever make?
No.
Yeah.
No. If it's not real estate, it's something else. If it's not something else, it'll be something else. It's that simple.
Yeah. Once you get the principles down, you get it.
Yeah. I think, you know, a lot of our upbringing hardwired us to seek opportunity, right? So when we're kids, we're doing things maybe we shouldn't be doing. But opportunity, it's in such abundance now, and there's so many ways to get it legitimately. Why would you ever scam? It makes no sense.
Bro, I mean, could you imagine now if you were like 16 with the internet?
Forget it.
You'd be a fucking millionaire right
I know.
in school.
I know.
But just a different time. I mean,
Yep. It is what it is.
so you're not doing too bad otherwise.
But I do wish I could go back. Yeah, no doubt.
Listen, dude, people who know me well, I even got it last week from a friend of mine. He's a
Yeah.
very high-ranking official in the law enforcement field.
Yeah.
He's like, I got to give it to you. He's like, it's all so genius. He goes, I feel like you should have never been a cop. And I went, this was my story. This is what I did. I'm glad that I can help in the way that I can. I'm glad that this mindset was taken from that into this because we really needed the help. But yeah, I think about that sometimes.
Sure.
If somebody would just put their arm around me at fucking 18 and would have said, hey, you work your ass. I was working 8 hours a week. So I graduated high school, I had 2 full-time jobs.
Right.
Motherfuckers are going to college. I'm like, I hated college. I hated school. And I wanted to be a cop. And dude, you knew that it was crazy.
Yeah.
And, getting a cop job at that time, I thought I hit the lottery.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I made it, bro.
I bet.
Right?
I bet.
And I worked hard to get there. I went to my first police academy when I was 19.
Yeah.
I was driven. I was patient there trying to get out. And then I went to my second one. I even moved to Washington, D.C., then moved to Georgia to go to the academy, came back, and then came back here and went to a third academy. So I was committed. But nobody ever talked to me about money or business or what your capabilities were because I don't think people realize that you could be capable of it. I remember my father saying a lot to me like, my father would brag about other people's stuff.
Yeah.
But he would never say, like, you could have that too. He'd be like, oh, did you see fucking John's new Corvette? With the thing. See that guy's BMW? That's bad. Look at those houses up
Must
the
be
fucking
nice.
hills. Yeah, must be. Could you imagine life like that? And, I don't want to get too far ahead because I still want to go back into your story. But,
Yeah.
dude, that was a very pivotal moment in my life when I met you guys in 2014. And I was like, it took me a while to believe it.
Right.
Because I just never thought
Yeah.
there could be technology and stuff put in
Sure.
place. But go back to telling the rest of your, to telling your kind of the story because it leads into who you are and why we became friends and shit like that, and or how we became friends. I don't know if it's why we became friends, but go back to now. You're 18. You're out of high school. Let's say.
Yep.
What goes from here?
Yep. Out of high school, I was young for my grade. I graduated when I was 17.
Me too.
Yep. Started Rutgers when I was 17. I went to school. I think I knocked out maybe 5 years, but at the same time, when I turned 18, I got my real estate license. So at first I was bussing at Red Lobster because I always wanted. I had my hustles, which were like my side businesses, but then for the jobs I was punching a clock for, I wanted to be paid for my results and my effort, not for my time. So I was bussing tables. I still remember I had like a 1985, like gold on gold Cutlass Supreme that my grandfather gave me. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was the first day I made over $100 in tips. I made $110. I don't know what. You know how some shit just sticks with you? Like I don't even know what I ate yesterday, but like there's these moments in your life that you just never forget, and they seem so insignificant. But I remember making $110, jumping in my Cutlass and calling my parents, and like, you know what I mean? I was thrilled. Like I couldn't believe it. Just kind of bragging, and they were always happy for me, So busting for 2 years. Started at the bar as soon as I turned 18. More money, right? More hustle, work hard, all that stuff. My friend Zab would come in, telling me I'd be perfect in real estate, and he was telling me how much money he's making. That was basically it. He was coming in, eating lobster tails, right?
Shit.
Drinking scotch. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? And I thought I was doing great. I was making like $1,000, $1,200 a week,
Yeah, me
mostly
too.
cash, right? And it's like, this is what my parents make. Like,
Yes.
right? So you're like, fuck, I'm 18. They're 30 years older than me, and I'm already making what they're making. You know what I mean? So you kind of see what's possible. You open your mind, and this guy would come in. I'll never forget. Two different occasions. One day, he's like, I made 11 grand today.
Wow.
I was like, get the fuck out of here, right? And then another time, he's like, I made 27 grand this month.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went to real estate school, right? So, and the rest is history, man. I went there for 3 weeks, got my license, started selling homes my sophomore year of college. And since then, it's all I've done.
When did you disengage from college completely? Was there some strife with your parents when you did that? Were they pissed that you were leaving college?
No, because at the point where I was leaving, so at the beginning, you hear it's not just your parents, right? And people could only give you advice from their perspective based on what they've experienced, right? So you always want to make sure you're aware of who's giving you advice and if they're an expert in their field or if they should be giving advice on that. So growing up, we only know, right, our parents punch a clock, steady pay, get a job, get married, go to college, right? All that stuff, which is all great advice. But they want what's best for us. They want to protect us. They don't want to see us getting hurt, right? So they'll usually encourage us to take the secure road, the safer bet, not the road less traveled, not the riskier road. So yeah, you get a lot of naysayers when you start doing your own thing, not just your parents, your friends, your other family. You know, people are going to tell you you're not going to get rich overnight. It's going to take forever. It's not for everybody. What if the market changes? What if rates go up? What if things aren't like they always were? Blah, 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 blah. You know, you could what if yourself to death, right? So you just, not sometimes, all the time, only you know what you're capable of, right? Like you could see that vision and you could go get it, but nobody else could see that path. You know what I mean? And even if we don't know the path and it's not clear, we know we'll figure it the fuck out, right? Like that's what I'm confident of. So we're going to hit roadblocks. We're going to stumble. There's going to be all types of things that hit you that you weren't prepared for or budgeted for, but you always figure it out, you know? And that was the journey, right? So just been 20 years of just pressing, doubling down, growing. First few years were brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. My parents loaned me a lot of money and kept a ledger. And I remember this ledger.
Dude. I remember this story, dude.
Yeah.
This is cool shit.
I don't want to spend money on anything. Like, you know, my mom was like, you know, why don't you buy some more suits, buy this, buy that. Dude, I went into collections. It was so bad. I think I was probably 19. I financed the plasma TV from like fucking PC Richards or something. The payment was $90 a month. I went 3 months past due.
Wow.
Fucked up my credit for like this flat screen that I wanted in my bedroom when I was living with my parents. It was rough. I was making all types of mistakes, but this was my only income. My first year in real estate, I didn't even clear $7,000, right? Second year, $13,000. Third year, $27,000.
Right.
So, the first few years were brutal. So I got in the hole deep. My parents would help subsidize whatever I needed money for. But again, nothing was given to me. I needed to pay it back, which is more than most people could even save for. So and it's what they could afford. And I'm thrilled they could do that, you know. But yeah, I got in the hole with them to the tune of like 40-something thousand. And, you know, you're 20 years old, 21 years old. It's a lot of money. And I just chipped away at it, clawed my way out. Went from a mom and pop brokerage to the office that I'm at now. I remember having that conversation with my mom. And of course, like, oh, it's a lot of money in rent, this and that. Are you sure? But yeah, by the time I got out of college or stopped going, I think I had 110 credits under my belt. So I was right near graduating, but I made like $240,000 that year.
Yeah, fuck
right.
that.
So at that point, my parents believed in me, right? So it's like I feel like there's a fine line between like being an idiot and being a genius. You know, I'm not saying I'm a fucking genius. I'm just saying when you think you're gonna do something, you're telling people they think you're fucking nuts, right?
Bro.
Right. They think you're crazy.
Oh yeah.
And then as soon as you show them, they're like, "Holy shit, this guy's on."
What's next for this guy? What's he gonna do next? What's he up to?
Yeah. Then they start believing in you. So that's the story. Obviously it's summed up and dumbed down, but
dude, I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember a story that your mom and dad loaned you a big amount of money. Or maybe it was Dave. Okay. And it was like you guys like went for break. It was either going to work or you weren't. Was that a real story? I think I remember it correctly. Like were they giving you money for like Boomtown or something like that?
Boomtown, we borrowed money from a friend.
Okay.
Yeah, we went hard on that. That was a big expense, big risk. We borrowed money from him. And he helped us out, yeah.
And then you guys were like,
helped us out. We paid him interest and all that stuff back, of course, but yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you talk about like that risk.
I'm always putting my neck on the line.
Yeah.
That doesn't change.
No.
This goes back to the AC Vegas conversation when we started this podcast, right? And it's just my personality, you know? So I apply it here.
It's interesting that you bring that up because, you know, now being into business, having some success, I look at this formula. I try to look at all my friends that have success. Mm-hmm. Why a guy like you, of all the people I know, and I don't know a lot of successful people, I only know a handful, and when I say successful, something to be measured in results.
Yeah.
Success is, we're talking about a business here. You could be successful and be the best father in the world to your children. You could be successful and be the best husband to your wife or the best wife to your husband. There's a lot of different definitions of success, but we're talking about business success. I'm talking about proof, right? Clear as day.
Sure.
We know who you are, everybody knows who you are.
Yeah.
And I think about, why do I think some people get close but never get that next level? And it typically goes between freelancers and business people. And I could be wrong. In 10 years, I can look back and say, oh, I didn't know what I was talking about. But to me, there's this formula and these certain ingredients that if you're missing one of these ingredients, you're probably not going to go much further. Even for me now, I'm like, all right, how do I go? Am I capable of going from where we're at now in the figures that we're making to like 9 figures? How does a guy like me take street cop training and what we do here to a 9-figure company? What does that look like? Do I even have the ability? Do I have the know-how? How many more years do I got to stay in the trenches trying to figure this shit out? Because it's constantly a puzzle piece. But what do you think about knowing that you have the kind of success that you have, about those ingredients? When I say to you, what ingredients do you think people need to have to be successful? What are some of those things that come to your mind? And I'll tell you what one I think is is when you're done, one of the most important ingredients that most people can't find. But what do you think they are?
I think hunger and self-accountability. No matter what the outcome is, I blame myself, win or lose. Don't blame anybody else. Don't blame the government. Don't blame the competition. Don't blame my enemies, my friends. I mean, it's on me. And always asking myself what I could do differently if I'm not getting the result that I want. So I think anybody that takes whatever they do to a high level just hasn't stopped, right? They've failed a million times, right? They get beat up. They just keep going. And I think the hunger fuels that. And then I think the accountability then dials it in, right? So you don't give up. You realize that you're in full control. Whatever you want, it's on you.
I'll give you the things that I wrote down, and I haven't put thought into this before we did this, but I put, and I'm going to tell you which one I know you have that a lot of people don't.
Tell me.
So I'll go with the first few. One is, for me, it's discipline. For example, this weekend, I have 4 kids. I know that I have to be here on Sunday. Just that's the point of I'm at that stage where it's not luxurious enough for me yet to be able to not do that on a Sunday. And, I think that there's an argument for that to be made where people who probably have success still work Sundays. You probably get people who you might see on Shark Tank, who are still ripping 6-7 day weeks, work weeks.
Right.
So discipline's an important one. And I'm not talking about other things, but high level discipline will return results. If you apply that to anything you're trying to do, going to the gym, eating correctly, all those little decisions that you make. Do I go last night? My best friend happened to be at a bar to see his friend. I was driving home. I said I could swing by and surprise him, but I had to see my kids. I had to work today.
Yeah.
It was like 8:15 already. I'm like, these kids are going to go to bed soon. They want to see their father. I had to make a choice.
Sure.
Go surprise my friend, have a drink with him, goof off, or go home and be a dad. Because I know this Sunday I got to come to the office. I'm not going to see them.
Right.
Played hide and seek for an hour last night.
Nice.
It's fucking hysterical. I got videos. I'll show you.
Sounds good.
Hard work is an important one. I think that people don't realize how much work it takes and how much you can't be a bitch when you're tired. You got to dig deeper.
Yeah.
Often at times people say, you're on the road, you're here, you're there, you're traveling between classes, you're knocking out 10-hour classes here, you're on the road the next day, you're knocking another 10, then you're back on a plane on a red eye back home, but then the next day you're doing 4 podcast episodes. Yeah, man, that's the variable. Like, if you want this stuff, if you want to, at a very minimum, have change, and you have talent enough to make change, and intelligence, which is my next one, to help this big picture, yeah, man, there's a lot of discipline and hard work involved with that. The next one I got to tell you, I think, is intelligence, and I'll preface it by saying this. I know people that are morons that make $350,000 a year and they're complete twits. But that's the max level. That's them taking their discipline and hard work to the max, and 350 is their max. And there's not a snicker at. But these dudes or girls are working their faces off 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and on the 7th day, they're doing a half a day. But if you really start to understand, retirement, you could rip that for 10 years and be done. Right? Think about that, right? You take 100,000 out of 350 to live on every year. You put let's call it 200,000 in the bank for 10 years. You got 10 million stacked. I'm sorry, 2 million stacked, and you take a comfortable interest dividend on it for what, 5%?
You're good. You're set for life. It
100,000.
compounds. Yeah.
You're talking 100,000. You can retire from 20 to 30 and make 110, 115,000 a year for the rest of your life and never have to work again. If you want to put those 10 years in, people are like, 10 years is a long time. Nah, it goes like this, dude.
Sure.
I'm 41. You're fucking going to be 40 this year.
I'm sick to my stomach about it.
Yeah, no, it's okay, dude. You look great, by the way.
Thanks,
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. You don't have to be sick to your stomach. It's really good, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how amazing it is. But this is the variable that I see holding most people back, even some of my successful friends that do make millions of dollars a year. Why are they not going to, this is the big one. And I'll also throw in with the discipline that obsession with constant education is a big one for me, but it's the balls, dude. Right? People don't got balls. They're terrified. I remember you said to me one time, we were talking, and I was picking your brain earlier in my life, and I was like, you told me about ESPN, and you're like, I spent $100,000 on commercials for ESPN to find out it didn't work. He's like, you were like, yo, are you willing to do that?
Yeah.
And I was like, so I learned from that. I'm like,
Right.
I get it, dude.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah.
and I try to, and that's where people have to understand that when you're scared the most, that's where the biggest rewards are.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you gotta try to make a good decision. But dude, you got a big set of balls.
Yeah. You heard about the 3 B's?
No.
No, you're going to love this.
Okay.
So I learned this from, remember Howard in our office?
Yeah.
Yeah, Howard. He had a lot of wisdom. He's been in the business a long time, but he said in order for someone to succeed, they need 2 out of the 3 B's, doesn't matter which 2. Balls, brains, or bucks. So if you have any combination of 2 of those, I think I started with the balls and the brains, right? Definitely didn't have the bucks. And then once you add the 3rd B, it's game over.
Forget it.
Right? But you need at least 2 of the 3 B's.
Yeah, dude, you got to have those. I mean, listen, intelligence is intelligence. There's a saying that I heard from Seth Godin, who's my favorite author. And he said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
No doubt.
Unless you're Jeff Bezos. Because any room you go into as Jeff Bezos, you're always going to be the smartest guy in the room. So, but we're not Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
And you see that constant thing over the internet of like, you're the average. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Did you ever go to the guy's castle? You never did that, right?
Not yet. Dan Pena?
Yeah. But that's a trending one right now. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Yeah.
And you might look around and see your friends and be like, fuck, dude. Like, these are my fucking friends?
Right.
Well, no, they don't have to be. Your friends can be the people that are authors of these books and podcasts. And you don't get to converse with them, but you get to listen.
Yep.
That's where I'm at, dude. That's all I try to spend my time in. And, you know, it's funny because even when I brought up to my wife about, like, you know, she's like, who do you think your best friends are? And I'm like, really? Nobody. She's like, well, who do you like hanging out with? I'm like, Rob. Jeremy, Ryan, for different reasons.
Right.
Ryan's one of my friends who is realizing now in life that he could have done a lot more, and he's coming out to his 2nd career in a few years, and I think he's going to hit the gates running.
Okay.
Which is cool because I'd rather learn it at 43 or 44 than I learned it at fucking, you know, I remember saying to a guy that I worked with, I wish I knew this shit earlier. He goes, well, I found out about this when I was about 45.
Yep.
He goes, and you were 31 when you found out? I go, yeah. He goes, I wish I was 31 when I found out.
Yep.
So I feel like I'm late to the game, but I'm glad I'm at the game. I can't change the past. We can't go back and dial it back.
Yep.
But tell me some of those other ballsy moves that you've made that, you know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Sure.
Do you think you make better choices rather than bad choices?
No.
Okay, no
I make
shit.
terrible choices every day.
I don't mean in a personal life.
Business. I mean, I make terrible choices with everything all the time. So, can we, before we go into the ballsy moves, can I touch on some of the things you said?
Yeah, for sure, dude.
So the one, anytime I feel like I'm late to the game, I wish I learned this sooner. I wish I never went to college. I wish I was on Reddit. I found out about fucking Bitcoin when it was pennies. I would have been, you know what I mean? All those like scenarios, one, they don't serve you, right? So when you're living in the past, you usually live with regret. You live in the future, it's anxiety and fear, right? So like being present is a big thing I've been working on. But the other thing I would say too is like, you know, when you have those feelings, I remind myself, Warren Buffett would switch places with you in a fucking heartbeat, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't, like, you could be mopping the floors in this building, he'd switch places with you, right? Because the age and the time, no matter how much money he has, can't go back, right? So you're still in a so much better position than all the people that came ahead of you, you know? So that's what you got to look at. You're exactly where you should be right now. And everything you've experienced in life, everything you've done has put you here to prepare you for what's next, right? Some big and things just kind of lining up and trying to stay away from the fear, trying to stay away from the anxiety and the regret, and just live in the moment now. What can I do right now to empower me, to take me in the right direction? As for the things that you're talking about discipline, you're talking about hard work, you're talking about all those things that you think are the ingredients. I'd challenge you a little bit on that because all of those things to me all go back to that why, right? And we've learned about that, right? Start with why. That book, you know,
Simon
all
Sinek.
that stuff. Yeah, exactly. Simon Sinek, that's right. It's about the why. So with a big enough why, you'll find the how. You know what I mean? And that's where you take the chances, the gambles, the risk, and things like that. But as long as you have that why that's fueling you, everything else falls into place. You find the hard work, you find the discipline, you find the intelligence. The intelligence comes from fucking up and being like, okay, that doesn't work, right? And then going back to the accountability, what can I do differently this time, right? And that's really what it was and is today. I don't think I'm that smart. I just think I'm that fucking stubborn. You know what I mean? Like I just don't stop. If there's something that I want, I'm going to get it. I'm going to figure it out, right? Because I don't think anybody's that special, right? If they did it, I could fucking do it, you know? And that's how you do it, right? So maybe a smarter guy's not going to screw up as much as I do, but I promise you I screw up all the time.
So let me ask you this. What's your why, and has your why changed over the years?
A big part of my why, I think, is going to be with me forever, and I don't think it'll ever change. I think I'm going to add more whys as time goes on. You know, maybe add the kids, the wife, whatever down the road when it happens. And then certainly like the contribution and the giving back and all that stuff, and that's big for my story. But I would say my foundational why is I have this feeling of guilt that I owe my family. I feel like my family sacrificed so much for me, right? They came from Poland. My grandfather worked in a factory, right? Like just shitty jobs, grunt work, didn't speak the language. And they did it for us to have a better future, right? So for me to be here and squander that opportunity, you know what I mean? I couldn't do it. Like that's what fucking would eat me alive inside, knowing that I'm capable of more and I fucking wasted it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All that sacrifice for me to have it easy, you know, that's the way I look at it. That guilt is just always going to be with me to keep pushing, make them proud and make it worth the risk they took. You know what I mean? The setbacks they took, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting now for me, I think that my purpose has always been the same with different purposes peppered in. Like you said, I have the kids and all that shit now, but I know, as crazy as it sounds, and I'll tell you a quick story about that I can actually change how this whole thing's being done.
Sure.
And knowing that every minute I put time into it might be a minute that somebody's life is saved, and that's police, civilian, anything like that, that I don't feel like I'm under pressure. It's just that I understand the stuff that comes out of this office has significant waves throughout this country and throughout the world, and it's fucking nuts to say that. And you can't say that till you have some proof. And if you say it, people are going to say you're nuts. And I'll tell you a story of the first time that happened. I started thinking about that when I started having some results. And I'm like, God damn, this is crazy. Like, we might actually change the world. I'll even share something with you. It's interesting. I'm like, I wonder at like my fucking funeral if they're like, this guy changed the whole fucking thing. The police work was fundamental. In history books, along came this company, Street Cop Training. They changed how police work was done. Maybe it's, I don't know, dude. And people are listening to this going, oh, fuck this guy. They're doing it right now, I promise you. Who the fuck does this guy think he is? Right? This is what people think. The guy comes up to me in Texas. I'll never forget it. This is probably 6 years ago or so, 5 years ago. And just catches me out of nowhere. He goes, can I just get you for a second? It's happened to me all the time. And I'm like, yeah, it's in class. So they're clear. You know, they have access to me. They want to ask questions, anything I can do to help them. And he said, what does it feel like to know that you're changing the world? My response to him was, you know, dude, I think about that every single day. Except if you say that out loud, people are going to think you're fucking nuts. Right. And his response was, I know you're changing the world. He's like, and I think about that all the time. Amazing. And I finally got an opportunity to ask you because I don't know if I'll ever meet anybody else who's changing the world. He goes, I said, I think about it a lot. And I know there's a big responsibility, but I don't feel pressure from that responsibility. It's actually what drives me to show up here over and over again. And we've had instructors at this company who are like, man, it's hard. I'm on the road. These classes are tough. I'm trying to do it in between shifts, getting out somewhere, getting back, going back to work. Yeah. And I'm like, look, man, this is how it works. It's hard, but it's worth it. And every so often, the good Lord will reward you. You're going to miss birthdays. You're going to miss holidays. You're going to miss some stupid shit like that, like important things in your life. But there's also going to be financial reward and reward from other human beings. So you're going to sit around and go, I'm glad that I did this. Later on, I know it's hard now, but later on, you're going to be glad that you did this. I promise you that. What were one of the most difficult things that you went through as far as, and we'll keep it to the business realm, because obviously I've been friends with you for like 9 years now, coming up on, goes fast.
Yeah, it does.
What's one of the most devastating things you've had to endure? And I'll keep it in the professional sense. And I always think about Dave telling me the story where, like, when he let like work start happening on a house before it closed, and he got like a $15,000 fine or some shit.
Yeah, sure. It was in Old Bridge. I remember that.
That was a good one. He's because he was like, bro, I fucking didn't know, and I'm like, I guess that's how you learn, right? Sure. He said he was terrified too. Yeah, it's a scary thing. Absolutely. Yeah. But what was one of those things that you could think of right away?
Oh man, I would probably say last year was tough. I mean, we ran into a lot of issues. It's, I've only had before last year 1 year where we didn't grow and we went backwards. That was 2010. Actually, it was the year I quit college. I bought 2 cars that year, a fucking H2 and an M6. I made 244. Quit college and then made 138 the next year. Ooh. And I was like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean, right?
That's a big, good lesson learned, though.
That was terrifying.
Would you ever let that happen again,
No, definitely not.
Me neither,
but,
dude.
You go through the evolution where it's like, you know what I mean? Like when you first There's like the stages when you're trying something new. Like at first it's like, can I do this? Can I just like fucking survive? You know what I mean? And then after that, can I thrive? And then after that, what can I do? You know what I mean? Above and beyond thriving to give back and contribute and things like that. No, so that was just kind of getting started. And I felt like I sacrificed so much. It was like, all right, it's time to treat myself to this and treat myself to that.
Young
and
guy,
you justify
cars,
it. Yeah,
right?
you
Like,
justify it. Yeah, of course. You can justify anything, especially when you're a salesperson, right? I'm always selling myself.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So what was the?
Yeah, no. So last year, first year I had to do layoffs. That was tough. I mean, you know me,
I
right?
did
Like,
have laid off last year too.
Yeah, it's brutal. First time I ever had to do it, but
I
you had no
can't fire
choice.
people. You have a hard time with it.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I hate disappointing people. I hate upsetting people. I don't like confrontation. I like giving. I just give. You know what I mean? And then it comes back, and it's not why I give. It's just my personality.
I said that earlier.
Yeah, it's fulfilling. It's rewarding, and that's one of my whys now. Right? It's like the bigger I make in my life, the more I could contribute and give back. You know what I mean? That's the most rewarding thing for me. But yeah, so I had to let some people go, but I waited till last minute. So I burned through cash. I felt like I fucking flew the plane, basically like nosedived into a cliff and pulled up last minute. And I was asking my buddy about it. He's really successful. Actually, I should probably have him come in here. I'll refer you. Really successful local guy. Grew up in Carteret, right? And now, you know, living big, right? He's like a big brother to me, man. Big inspiration. I have a few of these guys in my life that you know, people above you want to lift you up, right? They don't want to bring you down.
Right.
You know what I mean? Only people below you want to bring you down. So they're always helping me out. And I was like, dude, I did this. I like fucked my business up. Everything's because we have an inventory issue right now. That's the big problem, right? Coming out of Corona, not enough homes for sale, so we don't have enough transactions, right? So I was staffed up and I was marketed up for the revenue I used to generate, which isn't coming in anymore. But I kept everything going until absolute last minute until I had to cut because I was hopeful things would turn around and I was hopeful I didn't have to let people go. So I asked my buddy, I was like, dude, I can't believe I did this. He's like, I've done it before. And the reason we do it is because we know we'll figure it out, right? Like we're worried about the other people who's, you know what I mean? They got kids to feed, they got bills to pay,
dude.
they're punching a clock. And this job means something to them. It means a lot to them, right? He's like, we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Like we'll do it. And again, it's about, you know me, I'm a big Tony Robbins guy. I know you're not too crazy about him, but
I'm okay with it. I know he's made a lot of impact.
Yeah.
You know,
He's huge for me.
I get it.
Yeah. We have different guys, right? You got your guys, I got my guys. We all got our gurus that we follow,
for sure,
you know, and kind of resonate with our personalities and things like that. But he teaches us that it's not about your resources, it's about your resourcefulness, right? You can start with nothing. And like I said, if it wasn't real estate, it'd be something else. We would figure it out.
Yeah.
You'll figure out ways to be scrappy and to evolve and to seek opportunity and to scale. So,
Dude, 2022 kicked this company in the fucking balls.
yeah, same.
We got destroyed, and
Right.
it has nothing, dude, it's just outside things that were unpredictable.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's actually hurting us, but we're doing, you know, we're off to the races 23 great. And by the way, we also grew 18% last year, which is nuts. In a time where there were so many variables smashing my face into a fucking puddle of dirt. And I was just like coming up for air, gasping. They were just shoving the world,
Yeah.
just shoved my face back in that shit. Like, you like that, bitch?
Right.
And I'm like, do it again. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to get back up. You know, so it's just that resiliency. But
Sure.
I have come to find recently, it's funny that you bring this up, that I talked to a few other people, two of my friends, one who owns a restaurant, you know who he is, from,
Yep.
I don't want to say his name, and then another dude who owns, I'm actually going to text him after this because I just connected with him. The reason I connected with him is because he put a post on Facebook about 2022 almost destroyed him. So everybody got their teeth kicked in 2022. And I was telling everybody here, dude, we had to have layoffs. Same thing. The room you're sitting in now wasn't the podcast room. I was brought in here and told by like the three top staff here, like, hey, you're going to have no fucking money left. You are now blowing through your savings. You got to get rid of people. And I'm like, I can't, dude. I told these people the same thing. And then I had to sit down and tell
brutal.
5 people you have to fucking leave. And then other people and other people. Dude, it was brutal.
Yep.
And they're pissed. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I have no more control over this. I'm here. I'm working. I don't know what else to do. So I happen to go to I think I told you, it's a Frisella thing. A Frisella and
Arte?
yeah, Arte, their thing. Bro, like I was actually getting emotional during it because Ed Milet came out and he's like, how many people in this room are here today because they've had success and everybody's looking at them and they like never anticipate not winning, and now you're not winning at the current moment. Yeah. And like half the room raise their hands. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm not the only one.
Right.
Right. And then he's like, Frisella comes out, somebody asks a question, and Andy said, he's like, you know how many times in my fucking career, you know how he talks,
Yep.
that I didn't take $1 out of this thing for 18, 20 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, shit. Okay, this is normal.
Yep.
Right? I didn't fucking know. And we get that comfort level of like, wow, we're having this and it's comfortable. And then all of a sudden you get kicked in the balls.
Yeah.
And you learned a lot of lessons this year. Yeah, I'll never allow myself, and I don't live like a fucking crazy frivolous lifestyle.
Right.
But dude, thank God I was wise enough to stack some fucking bread. And I stacked bread with the intention of, God forbid.
Sure.
It was in an account making 5-6% return, but that was my bank account.
Yeah.
And dude, if I didn't have that discipline to not buy a fucking yacht and put that money in there, because I owe it to every person who fucking works at this place. And dude, I got to tell you, I sat and I told these people over and over again who still believed me. Like, I'm telling you guys, if it's historically correct, as soon as the first quarter hits, we should be doing good. And like, we're not going to have these expenses next year because it's a one-time thing. We'll have expenses, but it shouldn't look like this. But we're good. We made 18. We just had more expenses. Net was low or zero, but gross was 18% higher. It only makes sense. And here's the things we're going to do for next year. We're going to build the infrastructure out more. And we have so much purpose to serve and all these people. And dude, I got to tell you, I've been done with month one. It's January, what's today, 26th, 27th? 27th. And we're having record-setting numbers. And, you know, I kind of look around. I'm like, it's not, I told you so. I'm like, you see? Like, yeah, I'm like, and by the way, guys, I'm thankful that I was right. Like, I'm just thankful. Like, because I got to tell you, I wasn't biting nails. I'm just like, I'm thankful that history repeated itself. And on top of that, there was some bonus icing on the cake. And we're good right now.
Great.
You know, so,
Yep.
yeah, man, like you, 2022 was rough, man.
Yeah.
And people look at you going, here's this guy, right? Sure.
It's that iceberg meme, right?
Yeah.
You just see the tip.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
dude, you don't, and by the way, you don't know what's going on in Rob Decanski's life.
Right.
Happens to me all the time.
Of course.
Still happening to you. Some of the hate you've endured and some of the hate you endure now.
Right. So I would say this, and this has helped me deal with it because I'm a very sensitive guy, very emotional. We talked about it. I cried this morning. I needed a good cry and went to go get a coffee, put on a song that meant a lot to me and just got it out of my system. You know what I mean?
Gotta get rid of it sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. So you get it. It really bothered me, right? When we first started kind of like, you know, we started growing and people would hear our name and they'd see us places and they would say things about us that obviously weren't true. They're just making assumptions, things like that. And it was always people that didn't know you, right? Because when they know you, they like you, typically, right? But when they don't know you, they make up these stories. So another thing I learned from Robbins is that there's two ways to have the tallest building in town, right? You either build the tallest one or you knock down all the ones that are taller than yours, right? That's it. So it's just learning that it's human nature that if somebody has something that you want or they're living a certain way that you want to live, right, or they're doing things the way you want to do, you could use it as inspiration, right? Or you're going to bring them down to your level to make yourself feel better about what you haven't done or why you aren't there, right? And I'm guilty of it myself, right? Like, I mean, I'll open Instagram, pull up Dan Bilzerian's, Instagram, and I fucking hate my life. You know what I mean? And it's like, what am I doing? Right?
Know.
But I'm like, oh, this guy's probably a dick. He's probably miserable. He's probably, right? You're just making up these fucking stories. And it's just the way our brains are wired, man. You know what I mean? It's nothing, it really is I don't take it as ill will towards me or anything like that. I just understand that it's human nature. It's just not the reality.
Well, it's
you know
shallow, dude. I think that a lot of the things, I remember I asked you one time, dude, you know what's crazy? I'm sitting here. We're gonna have to do this again at some point because I don't know, it's so weird how many stories I have about you and Dave that I want to go into.
Yeah.
But I remember asking you.
I'll come back.
Yeah, you have to,
Anytime,
bro.
man, you know
Yeah, like
that.
next week, maybe,
Sorry
dude.
for putting it off, man. I had the bronchitis.
No,
all that
I
shit.
don't give a fuck, dude. I'm glad you came down.
Come by anytime.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the Street Cop podcast, do us a favor and give us a review on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you're listening to us. Tell a friend. We don't charge anything for the episodes. We appreciate your support. Check us out on any social platform by putting into the search bar Street Cop Training. Give us a follow. We have a lot of free content coming out every single day that you might not catch here on the podcast, and it's important for you to be able to do your job more professionally, and we also entertain you as well.
I feel like we could talk forever.
Yeah. Well, dude, I got so many stories. We know so many
Yeah.
people, dude. Even though I don't see you a lot, there's a lot of stuff that we have together.
No doubt.
I remember I said to you, I'm like, every time you buy one of your fucking fancy ass cars, does it ever feel the way you thought it would make you feel? And you responded, never, except for the Ferrari. And I said, well, why the Ferrari? And you said, because everywhere I go, it brings people joy to see it.
Yeah.
And that's rewarding.
Yeah.
Remember saying that to me?
I do.
I think about that, dude. And if you look at my purchases and how I live my life, and I guess the average person, like, wow, this is cool. Yeah. Wow, you have this. Wow, you have that. is really anything for me? Even down to my gym that I built in my basement, is it really even for me?
Right.
Think about it. If you really go to the core of it, is any of it for me at all? And it's not. And that's why when I buy things, I don't look for that high of like, how is it going to make me feel? I'm curious about how it's going to make other people feel.
Yeah.
You speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you're right. Because everything else, it's like you set these goals in life. Like this is the prize. If I only had this, if I could only accomplish this, then, right? This if then scenario, it's never true. Whatever you're telling yourself, if this, then that, I promise you it's never fucking true. Because there is no destination. There's no, you know what I mean? No, I've arrived. Not when you're hungry anyway. I think there's people where the ego gets in the way a lot of times, right? And they get to a certain level and they think who they are, right? But the hungry people, the humble people, know there's so much more and so much more that could be had. And the people at the top, they're not selfish. They're not greedy. I mean, not the ones I know. They're the biggest givers ever. I think one of the most selfish things you could do is not have enough to give back, right? Just to only scrape by and take care of yourself is selfish. You know what I mean? Not living a big life because there's so many people you employ, you overtip people, you take care of lives, you charity, donations, things like that. It's incredible. But yeah, the car story, for people that like cars, when they'd see one, it was like a gift for them. It felt like I was giving them a gift, right? Because how often do you see something like that? Not too often around here.
Not around
right,
here.
Exactly, yeah. So watching...
let's be clear, in West Palm Beach, Florida, it's a grocery runner.
Oh, of course, yeah. Right. But not here. So watching a kid's face light up or having somebody approach you when you go get gas or get food or whatever, want to sit in it, rev in it, take a picture with it. I mean, it literally changes it doesn't change. I don't know if it changes their life. They'll never fucking forget it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I remember instances like that where it was meaningless to the person who shared that experience with me or helped me with something, but to me it meant the world, And that's the type of stuff that I get high on now,
Overall, all the stuff that we buy, all the stuff that we get, I don't think those are the things that are the most valuable in life.
It's meaningless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's meaningless.
And the only thing I could speak to that is like when I go to my conference, which is coming up in about 85 days from the day of this recording. Dude, I plant all these seeds and don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And I get to take a look at my crops. I've said this every time I talk about it. I can't wait to see the work that we've done and what it's meant to people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fucking really cool to feel like a celebrity to people. And you're like, why do people feel this way about me? And you got to accept it because you meant so much to them. I mean, I always try to emphasize this to you of what you've done for my life. And it's a weird thing to accept a compliment because I know you and you don't accept compliments well.
Right.
But dude, you really changed my life, and your brother too.
Thank you.
Divine intervention. I actually met you guys through some significant struggles. That's why I was in some of the worst parts of my life.
Sure.
Dude, I had no perspective. I was not enlightened. And I'm always, I think, in my mind trying to prove to you that I'm a different person now because I was such a fucking... For me, I would be somebody right now that I'd be like, what an asshole that guy was.
I get it.
I just was.
You prove it through how you are. You know what I mean? You don't have to tell me the stories. You know what I mean? I see it. I mean, what you've done's been incredible. What you've accomplished, the growth, it's been unreal.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
I love seeing it. And then as far as like you always telling me, how we changed your life, things like that. My favorite part about that is you always including my brother. You know what I mean? He's not here any longer. And you including him, man, means the world to me. You know what I mean? It's not about me. It's about that.
Let's not get a fucking cry fest here, dude.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. We'll do that for the next one. We'll have to get tissues and... Because we'll fucking... I'm starting to get upset already.
All right.
Yeah.
We won't talk about it.
No, I would love to, but we'll go on for fucking 45 minutes on just that alone.
Sure.
Because even though, I didn't know you guys for like my whole life, I enjoyed you guys, and your brother was always trying to get me to hang out. Like your dad would call me and be like, what are you doing?
Right.
We're at this house. I'm like, I got kids, bro. I can't come and drink with you fuckers.
Right.
Like when I moved to Millstone, I remember your brother calling me. And we were in Millstone already. We had to be. So Frankie was born. It was close, but I remember like them being in like Freehold or somebody's house. Like, and your brother's like, we got a pool here, bro. Just come. And I'm like, I have kids, guys. Right. Like your father's like, tell them to fucking come.
Right.
Tell them to come.
That's
so
them, yeah.
Even though I didn't know you guys my whole life, I adored your father and your brother tremendously. And we'll save it for the next podcast. Maybe we'll do this quite a few times, but
sure.
I guess we'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit. Unfortunately, Rob lost his father and his brother the same year. But it hurt, dude, for me. And I didn't like you guys weren't like my cousins. You just like I just appreciated you guys so much as human beings. And Dave was a fucking trip.
Yeah.
I actually want to tell one story because I wrote it right here, and I tell everybody I meet this story and why it changed my life about Dave, because I think we owe it to him. I have a lot of questions on here. I guess I'll save them for next time. You said that you had a guy coming into the bar at Red Lobster, and he was telling you that he made 11 grand in one day and 27,000 in a month.
Yep.
Dave, in 20, and you said him and I were much more alike because of like the showmanship and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
But it was August of 2014. Yeah, it had 2014. And I was working late. I wasn't a cop. I mean, I was still a cop then, but I was in the office late. It was a summer night. And it was just me and your brother in the office, and we were hanging out. And he like wanted to hold my wheel gun. I had a 38 special on my leg.
Right.
He's like, "Can I see it, bro?"
Right.
He used to love the cop shit. He wanted like, dude, I was taking him for rides in the police car.
What's that movie where like the kids are like shooting fucking beer cans in the parking lot? The Super Bad or something?
Yeah. That's what your brother was like, bro.
Yeah.
He loved the police thing. Like he was like every time I showed up in uniform with a police car, he's like, "Dude, is that the radio?" Do you remember him acting like that? He was fucking
100%.
loved it,
Yeah.
dude. He wanted to see the inside of the police car. This guy's got a Bentley GT outside. He's like, "Can I see your fucking police car, dude?"
Right.
I was like taking him for rides in it and shit.
Yeah.
So we were sitting in there, and he had his feet up on the desk, dude, and he's like, with his stuffy voice, he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "I'm gonna make 130,000 this month," and I'm like, I'll never forget this, dude. It was a great conversation. It was an hour. I'm glad he gave me his time. I learned so much from that dude. He was 5 years younger than me.
Yeah.
And bro, I learned more from him, my hand to God, than anybody I've ever learned in my life.
Really?
Yeah, because I think he was an open book and like wasn't afraid to. I like his peacocking allowed me to understand. And I think maybe subconsciously he wanted me to know. And sometimes when we try to tell people about things that we know, it sounds like we're peacocking and trying to show off. And I've been criticized for it by my wife. She's like, you sounded like you're bragging. And I'm like, I want people to know, right? Because if it's somebody like me who needs to hear it, she's like, but people don't like hearing that shit. I'm like, I know, but there's gonna be a guy one day who's gonna say, "You changed my life."
Be inspired, right?
Yeah, dude. So like, I get it. I know my audience. I won't even go down that road of what's possible. I've had a guy. I can tell you one story. A guy in my backyard. He's drinking a beer. He's like, "Yeah, this is." He's at a fucking 1-year-old's birthday party or some shit. One of my kids is like 1. It's 2 PM. He's fucking gassed on Coronas on a Sunday in the summer, right?
Yeah.
Before I even built the backyard, it was just the backyard. He's sucking down Coronas. He's like, "Yeah, I can see myself like this." And I went, "Oh yeah, that's good." He goes, "Tomorrow I'm going to call you. We're going to talk business." And I went, "Dude, it's fucking." I said, "It's Sunday at 2:00.
Right.
You're 6 Coronas deep. You're gassed up.
Yeah.
And you want to talk business?"
Right.
I go, "Do you see me with gassed up? This is my party. I'm not even gassed up."
Right.
I go, "You don't want to talk business. You're just drunk and having a moment because you like the way this feels. You have a kid now. You will like this." I go, "Do you know what it takes to do this?"
Right.
So stop fucking living in your alcohol-induced world. And if you ever really want to talk, I will give you my time. What I started doing is giving people book prescriptions. Finish these 3 books. When you're done with them, call me. I'm not going to sit here for 2 hours and give you my time.
Sure.
Here's 3 books. When you're done, call me. Then I'll sit down and give you an hour.
Yep.
2 people in fucking 8 years have done that. So
What are the books?
typically most people, when they're that raw, I like them to learn about money first. So it's Kiyosaki.
Yep.
It's the one
Yeah,
book
the
that
basics.
Yeah, just the basic stuff like what it's Rich Dad Poor Dad what the rich teach their kids about money.
Yep.
I like to typically prescribe a Cardone book. I started with a book, but I think it's kind of like evolved where you can buy one of the other books. But like The Rule of 10X or
Yep.
Be Obsessed or Be Average
Yep.
would be a book that I would consider that you should listen to. Because if it speaks to you, you're going
I
to come
say
back.
that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And the third book, it might be another Kiyosaki book. I haven't prescribed the books in a while. Actually, the girl who left early that went to Boston, her boyfriend was the last one.
Okay.
And he finished them and came back in like a month.
Yeah.
And we sat back down, like, "What did you learn?" He's like, "This." I'm like, it did change his life. He actually
Yeah.
quit his job and went and got a better job. Is it going to be dramatic like the way I changed my life? No. But I remember books changing my life and continue to change my life. But your brother said to me, "I made 130,000 this month." And I'm like, "You mean this year?" He's like, "No, this month." I'm like, "Bullshit, dude. Fucking bullshit." He's like, "No." And he started pulling out files. Right? And he's like, he was in the first office to the left when you walked in off of Inman Avenue.
Yep.
And he started going through. It's like, "No, I'm making 130." I'm like, "Dude, tell me how." And I'm like, "Fuck, dude." And I was like, I'm like, and I had genuine questions.
Yeah.
And how he answered me was so inappropriately appropriate that it just changed my life. And I'm like, well, what do you do for medical benefits? And he like laughed, right? He like just like you laughed, right?
Right. No,
So he's like, bro, he's like, I don't fucking think about benefits. He's like, who the fuck cares about benefits? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm like, what if you need like a tooth pulled or something like that? He's like, I fucking pay for it. he's like, what's the worst case scenario? I need a fucking, he's like, what does it cost for a major surgery? 50 grand? He's like, so 2 weeks of work, I'm paying for the whole goddamn thing, and I get to pick the doctor I go to. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, holding my head. I'm like, oh my God, I never thought of it, dude.
Right.
I'm like, what do you, he's like, you're scared of a job like mine, and I'm scared of a job like yours. I'm like, what do you mean you're scared? He's like, every week you go to work knowing exactly what you're going to make. He's like, I never know what I'm going to make. And he's like, it probably makes you nuts, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's scary. He's like, I'm more scared of shit like that you're doing, because knowing that I could never have any more potential and never make any more money. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Right, and this stuff's like sinking in, and I'm like,
yeah, I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it.
Yeah, dude. And I'm just like, holy shit. And like, dude, we spent about an hour together, and I just had more questions for him. He's like laughing in my face. Right? Like, it was just like, you know, he used to like just be such a dick.
Right, yeah.
But he was right, dude. And I remember starting to like bring it up to other people that I knew who were not in business and were not thinking like this. And I'm like, you ever think we're like selling ourselves short? And they're like, no, why? And I'm like, I feel like we are.
Right.
I remember walking across where I lived in Metuchen, walking across Main Street to the big houses. And I had Sal that's when I knew you guys. So I had Sal in the fucking stroller.
Yeah.
And I forget walking up and down those streets. I'm taking for a walk. And I was having a lot of thoughts about this stuff. I remember walking up and like looking around, and I'm like, God damn it. And those at that time, it was like 2014. So the houses market wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
Those houses are like 1.2, 1.1, 890, 900. Now they're probably 2.5, right?
Yeah, it's crazy now. Yeah.
And I looked at those houses and I was like, man, I'm never going to have a life like this. Like, I'm just never going to, you know, it's not a selfish thing. I'm just like, I don't know anybody who lives like this. I don't know a cop that lives like this. I don't know anybody that lives like this. And I started thinking about that shit, dude. You know, obviously, clearly, it's not why I left police work. I ended up getting hit by a car. But, you know, it's close in that time. It was actually right around that time. Or maybe I was actually injured at that point, or something like that. It's right around that same time period. But I remember, like, a lot of that stuff I started thinking about, and I was just constantly picking his brain. One time he was putting – I'll tell this story too. And I have more stories about him too, but
I want to hear
we were at the Borgata, and he was putting $10,000 into the fucking blackjack machine at the goddamn bar.
Yeah.
And he had this fucking stack of money, and I was broke. You remember how broke I was.
Sure.
I was broke.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you doing, dude? He's like, I'm playing blackjack. I'm like,
stupid question.
yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, what do you mean, dude? How much money is that? He's like, it's 10 grand. And I'm like, dude, give me $100. He's like, why? I'm like, just give me $100. And he like gave me $100. He's like, why? And I'm like, this is like my whole night, dude. I can have a whole night on this. Right. And he like kept putting the money in the machine. And I was like, this guy's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And fuck, I forgot what so I said, how do you just put that kind of money into the machine? And he's like, and dude, I don't want to air your business. But he started talking about what you and him both made that year. And this dude's like, I'm like, God damn it. I just was like, man, I want to live like these guys. Right? I just want to live this lifestyle of not thinking about it and just doing it and bringing all your friends along, bro. But dude, hearing that stuff was like, dude, you just meant so much. I remember like you guys spending money the way you did and like having shoes that were like $500. I remember walking through Nordstrom's for the first time when I started making a little money and seeing shoes for like $500.
Sure.
And I'm like, fuck, who could spend money like this on $500 shoes? You know, like I would never, like, I don't know if I'll ever live a life like this. And I'm saying this not to brag, but like just to prove like of like what I believed in. And I'll tell you one thing before we finish, if you have anything else to say to some of this stuff. But I remember going back years later and buying $500 pair of shoes, you know, like buying like
Ferragamos?
I didn't buy Ferragamos. I bought like Magnani's.
Yeah.
I was buying To Boot New York's. Sure. All the ones that, you know, and I'm like, man, I can't believe this is like, I'm buying this fucking crazy, dude. Yeah. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen who are listening, like, don't forget, I had a real estate career. I was actually doing pretty good in real estate. I was buying houses, I got so many good stories about you, dude, when you fucking gave me that deal and you're like, dude, it's your deal, take it back.
Sure.
I needed it so bad, dude. Like, believe me, I just can never repay you for what you've done for me. And it changed my life on so many levels, not just inspirationally. I got so many goddamn stories, dude.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll probably remember it when we're done. But What else did you have before we fucking put the kibosh on this? I got so much more to talk about.
I feel like I can sit here for hours. I want to make sure people listening get some value out of this because I'm sure they probably got some already, but I want to kind of like tie up some things with you. Just some like concepts and like mindset principles. You talked about, you, divine intervention, whatever it was, crossing paths with us and learning and having that perspective shift, right? I feel like everything in life is about perspective, right? I mean, that's all it is, right? Like, how do you look at things? And, what Dave said is exactly the way I feel is like, when people think that you're fearless, you got balls, whatever people think, right? It's about, for us, the fear was not growing. Like for me, that's pain. For me, that's failure. Is not growing, not moving forward, not doing better than I was doing yesterday, last year, whatever it was. So I want to make sure I'm going the right direction. Whereas other people, the focus is steady, complacent, secure. And neither one's right or wrong. It's a personality trait, right? There's different personality types, and most people do tend to be on the conservative side and want the security, and they don't want, the freedom and the possibility. That's a rare trait, and that's a conversation for another day about different types of people. So I don't think it's right or wrong. It's just the way I'm wired. So I would say if you're wired like that and you're listening to this, and let's say you don't have the friends, like we cross paths, but you don't have that circle wherever you're from, wherever you're living, whoever is doing what you want to do has written a book, has a podcast, has a YouTube channel, right? Offers mentorship, offers coaching. So that's what I would do. Don't try to figure it out yourself. Leave the ego at the door. Know that somebody's done it before you, right? And maybe nobody's done this before you, but people have built businesses, built podcasts, right? So you could take those nuggets and then apply it to whatever it is that you want to pursue.
Why pave the road if it's already been paved?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier to go down the paved road, just follow the footsteps that people have done.
That's it. So like I said, check your ego at the door. You know what I mean? People will take a life's worth of work and condense it into an autobiography. Go read the fucking book, right? And that's what you're talking about, the books you teach them and things like that. That's the shortcut to success. When I drive around, I mean, I listen to music sometimes, but it's usually podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube videos.
Who gives you the most referrals for podcasts, audiobooks, and YouTube videos? Who?
You.
Yeah.
You're the only person referring me.
No
that
shit.
Stuff. Yeah, you're the only person referring it. And I'm back into that now.
Okay, so I'm gonna start sending you more shit, dude.
Yeah. So, long story short, into it. You know what I mean? Like any knowledge that I just craved that I wanted more.
I'm addicted, bro.
I was hungry. I
Can't
was
stop.
too. Yep. Then I had my brother, my dad. That fucked me off. Right,
bro. I understand that more than anything now from what I've been through, and I don't want to talk about it publicly.
Yep.
I understand it more now than you know, and people don't get like what that'll do to you.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll fuck you up good.
Yep.
And then when you finally start getting better, you're like, whoa,
right.
I was fucked up.
Yep.
And dude, you just don't realize it when you're in it how fucked up you are. But at least now knowing what you've been through, you could at least say like, all right, hold on. Like, am I fucked up right now?
Sure.
Am I fucking acting crazy and doing crazy shit?
Yeah.
Were you doing weird shit during that time?
The weirdest.
I know.
Yeah. Dude. I mean, I knew I was losing my mind, and I knew people thought I was crazy. Hallucinations.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that crazy.
Weird, man. Yeah. It was fucking awful, dude. It was traumatizing.
Oh, bro, you went through probably some of the worst things you'd ever had to go through. And anybody had to endure in their lives.
Questioning everything. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
Yep.
It's a fucked up time, dude.
So, now I'm back, past couple of years, kind of back to my old self. I'll never be the same, right? But it is what it is. And then talking about perspective, coming from the angle that life happens for us, not to us. You know what I mean? What can I get from this? What are the benefits? What are the positives, And there's grace in those hard experiences. You know what I mean? There's always something that now you could apply, move forward, and improve your life, improve someone else's life, no matter how fucked up whatever you went through was. There's some good that came out of it. And it's a matter of using that good, right? There's that meme online with two guys. I don't know if you saw this. It's like a cartoon. One guy's like a drunk. The other guy's like a successful businessman. They asked both guys, why are you guys like this? And they both said, because my dad was a drunk, right? So you could use whatever your story is to justify why you are how you are. Right, and you could use it to empower your life and to do better, or you could use it as as an excuse to, not do anything with it. The choice is yours at the end of the day.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I remember what I was going to say before, and I once I started really trying to, I was really trying to dissect you and Dave.
Okay.
Constantly, I'm just trying to figure out what are these guys doing? Am I capable of this?
Okay.
I remember saying to Courtney one time, I was like, I don't think they're smarter than me.
We're not.
Right. And I don't mean that in a sense that I felt I was more intelligent than you. I just didn't think you were like I was talking to Einstein. You weren't reinventing fucking physics. And I said, I think I'm as smart as they are.
Right.
And I would say to her, I'm like, so if I'm as smart as they are, that means I can do what they're doing.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what I thought. And I would look at you guys and say, like, how are these guys so good at what they do? And one thing I knew about you is you guys were investing in yourselves a lot.
Yeah.
You were constantly educating, constantly going to seminars. And I was like, if that's what they're doing, that's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
That's what, when you said follow the path, that's what I saw. I remember telling you guys with that guy, Terry Paranax.
Yeah.
I remember saying to Dave, I'm like, where are you guys going? He's like, dude, I'll never forget this. Because he was such a dick. But in such a funny way. I loved it. I loved him so much. And him and I had something unique, I think.
It's the first time we splurged for business class.
Really? That was the first time?
First time. 2014. Yep.
I don't know if you noticed. I mean, I really had a thing with your brother. I loved him so much. I really did.
You guys like two peas in a pod.
I loved him, dude. I had so much fun with him. I was actually a little heartbroken when I left the team and I didn't see him as much.
Yeah.
And he kind of shunned me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I understood why
He was
now.
sensitive too, yeah.
Yeah. Would you say he was?
Yeah, he wore his heart on his sleeve.
Oh, did he? Yeah. So he was a little,
yeah.
But I remember saying that. I'm like, man, I can do this. Like I can. And one thing that you guys said to me, and I'll finish with this unless you have anything else to say, is I remember Dave saying to me, he's like, you're a killer, bro. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, me and Rob talk about you all the time. You're a fucking killer. He's like, you're going to be a fucking killer.
Yep.
And I was like, you really think that? He's like, yeah, we know, bro. And so to be acknowledged by people that had success, and it was interesting for me to be an older guy than you guys were, and you guys were recognizing me. I think when I started coming up in business, the beginning's hard, and you just believe in it, and people doubt you.
Sure.
I think I'm still trying to look for validation at times from other people on my successes. I probably unpacked it with my therapist a little bit, but I do. I think I'm constantly seeking validation where I want people to recognize that I am one of you. Even Jeremy, in 2022, I had to start talking about strategies to access my funds. And I said, Jeremy's very embarrassing. He comes on the podcast too to talk about money and shit like that, money management. I'm like, it's embarrassing for me to be considering myself in the same ballpark that you're in and in the same mindset, but to sit here and tell you that I need to access reserve funds and figure out a strategy behind it is like, because he's successful. Jeremy's a fucking killer. He does well.
Right.
He's a killer. He's a closed book. He doesn't talk about it. I've caught, and I don't do it because I'm curious. I'm not like, how much does he make? I gotta know. I'm like, how much does he make? I gotta know. So I know it's real. It's reality. You know what I mean? Not that I'm playing this psychological game of I'm trying to get where he's at. I'm just trying to gain a pulse of he's doing this since he's 22. He's 41 now. What does it look like? What does a path look like? What's he doing right? What's he doing wrong? I want to know all of it. Not because I'm into your business. I just want to know for my own what's reality? What's possible? Dude, you showed me a number on your phone when we did dinner one time about your investing. And
Cousins?
I was like, yeah, cousins. And I'm not going to say the number. And I was like, holy fuck. Right?
Right.
And I say that publicly because, one, that's your business. You've earned it. I don't know if that embarrasses you at all.
No, I mean, to me, it's I don't want to say meaningless, but I feel I don't know. I just feel like anything's possible. I don't think anything's crazy. And I definitely don't think what I've done is crazy. I think I think I've totally fucking underperformed with what I'm capable of. So
yeah.
I have zero pride with shit. I'm just
no, I know,
fucked
but
up,
for me, it gave me perspective of okay, that's a possibility, right? And I think everything is impossible.
Makes you feel
to
better.
possible.
I burned through most of it last year trying to keep the fucking business alive, but I'll get it back.
Yeah.
I'll get it back.
Doing it right now,
Same
dude.
shit. It is what it is.
But that validation, I'll never. That's what, dude. It's crazy. We weren't best friends. Dave wasn't my best friend, but I loved him. I love you, and it meant so much to me what you guys did for me. And I don't think you even know, all these little things built up to what validating me.
Yeah.
My own father didn't believe. I remember telling my father I was raking leaves in the backyard, and I said we were in the two-family Metuchen,
Yep.
and I said, yeah, Courtney and I are looking at houses.
Yeah.
He goes, when's your timeline of moving? I go, I'd like to do it in the next year. And he goes, what are you thinking about spending? And I told him the number. He goes, yeah, I'll believe that when I see it.
Yeah.
And I went in and I told her, I was like, you know what this motherfucker said? And, just my dad being from where he was, right? That's how everybody is, right? And, bro, that chip, got on my shoulder. And, the next year, we bought the house that I live in now. And, for guys like us, come from where we come from.
Call.
Yeah, guys like us come from where we come from. That's a big deal, bro. A lot of people don't make it, right?
Huge.
So that was the moment my father was he was believing me, and I think he really started to be. He told me I'm real proud of you,
Yeah.
and because we went to a Yankees game for his birthday, he was already experiencing dementia, I brought him, my brother, and my uncle to Yankee Stadium. I bought really nice seats. I paid for everything.
Love it.
And he's like, you don't got to pay. Let me buy the beers. And I'm like, Dad, I made 21 grand today. And he put his arm, like, I never forget, like, he slapped me on the back. He's like, laughing. Like, he couldn't believe. Like, he just was in disbelief. And he's like, man, he's like, you're something else, man. He's like, I got to tell you, like, he's like, sometimes I can't believe it. But it took time for him to believe it.
My dad, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, your father was so proud of you, dude.
Yeah. Well, he turned into my biggest fan, you know?
Oh, he was he was, dude, like, they showed you off like fucking nonstop.
But I remember the first conference that me and my brother went to, I think it was like 07, 08, to learn about guys that were doing it at a big level that we wanted to get mentored by. And I still remember in my dad's kitchen, he's making me food, and I'm telling him we're going to go to this thing, and I kind of didn't want to tell him because they always want to find out how much everything is. They always think everything's a scam, everyone's out to get you, right? So it's always like, oh, what'd they get you for that, you know?
Yeah.
I remember it was like $2,400. I'll never forget because what, are you out of your fucking mind, you know? And you know, from their vantage point and from what they've experienced, they didn't understand. They understood price. They didn't understand value. Right?
Dude,
what does that cost? Right? And when you're on this fixed income and whatever's coming in is coming in, you have to be conscious of how you spend it. Right? But the value that we got from that, the value that we've gotten from investing in the mindset and the tools and the shortcuts, you know what I mean? Priceless. They pay dividends forever, you know?
I know, dude.
They pay dividends forever.
Cheap is expensive, right?
Yes, it is.
It's a fucking Rob Decanski line that I can't say that I made up. I forgot to finish.
Line, yeah.
Is it your mother's line?
It is.
That's interesting.
Cheap is expensive, yep.
And for people listening, cheap is expensive is probably one of the most profound things to live by.
Yeah.
So when you're making that decision, do I go cheap or do I spend the extra money?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, spend the extra money. Don't be a fucking idiot because you will pay in the long run. It's going to cost you more in the long run.
It kind of tied into that too. You talked about discipline, right? So just with that, I want to touch on like with the cheap is expensive and price cost versus value. With the discipline thing, it's choose your hard. You know that line.
Oh,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Choose your hard, right?
Oh, yeah, dude.
You want, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. You know, you got two choices. You know, both of them suck, right?
Yeah.
But how do you want to live your life? You know what I mean? You want to suck it up, do the hard work the fucking Sundays, you know, and put it in so you could have more and give more and do more, right? That's hard too. And it's also hard not having anything, you know what I mean? And struggling and regretting everything, you know? So.
You had the best lines. I remember we were with cousins, you're like, I was like, I have problems, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, it probably doesn't cater to this audience, but it's just, I want to give you guys insight at like how big thinkers think. You were like, you want rich people problems or poor people problems? And I was like, fuck, you're right, dude.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You know, I'm like hissing, like, we lost 30 grand like this month and We're like, with this fucking lawyer. And you're like, yeah, it's cool. You want rich people problems or poor people problems?
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody has problems, right? I actually got this line from my my ex-girlfriend's dad. I'll never forget this. He's like, if you have a problem money could fix, then you don't have a problem. I was like, fuck, that's good, right?
Yeah.
So like we're stressing about last year, you know what I mean? Shit's going off the rails. We're spending more than it's coming in and we're going backwards and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, that shit comes back. You know what I mean? It comes back.
Dude.
You know how to get it. It's infinite. You just got to go get it, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, dude, so like when I have a bad year, I'm like, man, I got 55 more years of this shit.
Yep.
Right? Like I'm going to come back
Yep.
around and fucking crush this
Yep.
thing. And, you know, I just stay tenacious through the whole thing. And I forgot to finish the story about the Terry Paranick thing and the guy's going. So I said to Dave, I go, where are you guys going? He goes, we're going to we're going to Canada
Yeah.
to this guy's event. It's supposed to be a fucking game changer.
Yeah.
I go, what does it cost? And he said, it doesn't matter. You can't afford it anyway. And I went, but I still want to know, you fucking
Well,
asshole.
he was just being a dick. He didn't really mean that.
No.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted him to, dude. I needed him to say that to
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
No, it meant a lot. I wasn't mad at him
he's
for
a
it.
ball buster.
Oh,
That's
I
why you
loved
guys
it,
got
dude.
along, man.
No,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
Don't.
yeah.
Let's not listen. He was the best.
Yeah.
Right. I don't
Yeah.
have a fucking problem with your brother. Like
No,
ever.
I know you don't. I don't want them thinking.
Oh
he's
no,
a
it was
jerk-off.
funny.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
like a ball breaker.
Yeah.
I remember saying to myself, "You're right." In my mind, I can't go to this thing for $5 fucking grand. And I remember just a couple of years later going to Tony Robbins' Business Mastery for $10,000.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, it wasn't like ha ha. It was like, I'm here, man. I'm fucking spending this. I'm spending $1,000. It was 10 grand for that ticket just to go to the event. It wasn't the airfare. And I remember Courtney saying to me, she was like, "You're gonna spend 10,000 on this conference?" And I went, "Yeah."
Yep.
And she goes, "Do you believe in it that much?" I went, "I do." And I got value from it in a different way.
Yeah.
I didn't get it from what it was meant. But I remember I started getting doubtful about spending this $10,000 because on day one you could say you want your money back, they would give it back to you.
Right.
If you didn't find value. And he said, Dennis, you might not find value at that event like you're typically supposed to, but I think you might find value in how they do things and how they run conferences. I wasn't running conferences at the time.
Got it.
He goes, and what it looks like. And dude, you come to the Street Cop Conference looks like a Robbins conference.
No doubt.
Today we just had the fucking meeting with a guy. I'm like, I need lasers. I need fire. I need more fucking smoke. Not the smoke we had last time. I need fucking CO2 fucking the tubes. I want the crowd getting blasted from 20 different angles.
Right.
Like, I want fucking crazy shit. And bro, like, motherfuckers are like salsa dancing on the breaks. And it looks like a Robbins thing. So although I didn't find value in what the principle, because it was bullshit principles, I got to be honest with you. Some of it was a complete crap. Maybe I was just a little bit further ahead.
Yeah, I get it.
Than what they were offering there. And I'll tell you one last Dave story, and then we'll be done because I think we owe it to him, and it has value to what you're saying about making money and making more money and how it is abundant when you understand that. But you got to work for it, guys. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't fucking easy. Right? You got to put the time, energy, and effort in. So he owed me a few $100, and at the time I needed a lot. I was broke, dude. I know people don't realize I was really hard for fucking cash, strapped bad 7-8 years ago. I was in bad shape. And you know that. I used to tell you.
Yep.
I think he owed me like $600 for like doing like some inspections and shit. But I said, you get that $600 that you owe me because I need it, dude. I wasn't doing it because I was like, bro, if it was now, I'd be like, I don't fucking want the fucking dude, give it to some. Go take that $600, go put it in the poor box at the church. But I needed the money, dude. He needed groceries. And he's like, yeah. He's like, and he was in his Bentley GT.
Yeah.
And he's like, come on. He's like, give me a minute. I'll bring you down the fucking street to the bank. And we pulled into the bank. He stuck his card in the machine, and there was nothing in his bank account. He's like, yo, can you wait till like Friday? It was like a Wednesday. And I'm like, what do you mean, can I wait till fucking Friday? He's like, yeah, no. He's like, I don't have any money. I'm like, what about your savings? He's like, I don't have fucking savings. And I was like, dude, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't have any fucking money. He had like $30 to his name.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm in his $280,000 car with his fucking $10,000 outfit on.
Right.
And he's got like a Louis Vuitton piece of luggage in the back with like $10,000 in cologne inside of it. And he's like, I don't have any money.
Right.
And I'm like, he's like, but I'm having closings on Friday.
Yeah.
And I go, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, I'll have like 76 grand in here on Friday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, are you fucking kidding me? Are you just fucking with me? He's like, nah, dude, I don't have any money. He's like, go to ask Rob to borrow it. I'm like, no, I gotta leave. I can't sit around. He's like, Rob will give it to you. I'm like, no. So I said to him, how do you live your life like this?
Yeah.
And he made one of those profound statements I ever heard in my life. And people, take this conversation for what it is. Don't look into it like we're bragging here. We're trying to shed light on how the thoughts are of these high-level thinkers. And he said, me and Rob both know we can always make more money. Because once you know that, you don't worry about anything. And I said, it's interesting. I never thought of it that way. He goes, he's like, dude, I might not have money today, but I'll have $76,000 at the end of the week.
Yeah.
He goes, and next week I got 8 more closings, and the following week I have more closings. And he's like, I'll have plenty of money. He's like, because I know how to make it.
Yeah.
He's like, and once you know how to make it, you never got to worry about it.
Yeah.
And that was a big dude. I'm telling you, this motherfucker was like 28.
Yeah.
He was 30 when he passed away.
Yeah.
Think of all the value I got from this kid.
Yeah.
Just that, dude, all that stuff was really foundational for me to start changing my thoughts. I mean, and that's how I behave, and that's really contributes to, like, Frankie's like, we need this for the podcast studio. I'm like, buy it.
Yeah, of course.
He's like, the ship lap's $3,000. He bought like 6 extra boxes by accident, right? And I'm like, I don't give a fuck, dude. Who cares? Like, right? If this podcast is taking off like the way we thought it was, let's triple down on this motherfucker, right? Like you got the best hand right now. Like, you start sliding your chips out.
Absolutely.
So you start fucking spending money on this shit. And dude, it was at a time in 2022. This guy came on the worst fucking year of my career.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, we don't have much money, but whatever I can scrape together, we'll just start putting into this fucking podcast studio. Yeah. And that's what we did. I gave him the blessing to spend like $3,000 or $5,000 when I didn't have it at the time. And I'm glad that we did, dude, because this podcast has been a blessing. But even that, like, thinking about what your brother said to me, like, I'm like, all right, I know how to make money.
Yeah.
Right? And this business, just so we're clear, it's not about me just making money.
Yeah.
That's not what I do this for, and people know that.
Yep.
But it is a business, and in order for it to be successful, it has to procure revenue. And people be surprised for how much I take out of it, because I think most people would take a lot more than I take.
Yeah, of course. I do the same thing.
Dude, I take enough just to, like, right now, I'm like, okay, I have a good life.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have a private jet. We're not going to fucking Bali tomorrow. We're not going on a 1-month hiatus to Europe and blowing $150,000. Bro, my kids want to go down the shore. I can spend $200 at the shore, right? I could be selfish, but what people have to understand when I do a business like this is, like, when we procure revenue, you'll notice that I reinvest it into the company so we can reach more people.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, you know how it is. I mean, there's times where you might be cash strapped, but you look at how much you've invested, right? Into the facility, into your education, into your people, right? Into your equipment, into your branding, your goodwill, your advertising. You know what I mean? Those are investments that'll pay you for a very long time, you know? But sometimes, yeah, you have those cash flow crunches, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
You work your way through it.
Oh, we gotta do this again. We didn't even start, bro. I'm telling you, me and the motherfucker didn't even start. And every time we have dinner together,
I didn't even know what we're talking about. I didn't know what we were talking about, honestly. I just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but every time me and him have dinner, I'm like, this should be on a fucking pod. There's so much volleying back and forth. Yeah. I'm typically picking Rob's brain. I mean, that's typically how it goes.
Yeah, you know.
But you're picking my brain in a different way too, though.
No doubt.
To me, like when Dennis and Rob get to spend time together, just you and I, it's invaluable to me, dude, and it means the world to me. Yeah, no, I really do.
Often enough. Yeah.
I know, dude, and I always feel like I'm chasing you, and I don't want you to feel like I'm always kind of just come hang out with me, come, because everybody does that to you.
It's not like that. They do it to me because they have to, right? Like if it's someone I don't want to hang with, I'm gonna just, you know what I mean, never respond. You know what I mean, or just blow them off forever. It's just kind of my like fly by the seat of my pants personality, where I don't like being pinned down. I don't like committing to anything. This thing being on my calendar for a week freaked me the fuck out. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like, yeah. Like knowing I have to do something. Again, talking about perspective. You know what I mean? Being pinned down, being forced, having a schedule and rituals. To me, that's terrifying.
Do we just call you and tell you to come in one day?
Yes.
Okay. It's crazy. You think a guy like this is like super fucking disciplined and fucking like in a schedule?
All. No, what I do is, I mean, you know, I delegate, like Liz ordered the bus. I delegate most of my life. You know what I mean? So those people are very disciplined and organized. I'm more the thinker.
Slob, right?
Yeah, but like the creative, the fucking, you know what I mean?
I say slob in the sense that I heard Mark Cuban say that. He's like, I'm a fucking slob.
Yeah.
He's just, you're the creative, dude. Right. Bro, we had somebody earlier this week, first time at the office. Yeah. And like, your fucking desk is a mess. Yeah. And I'm like, it's actually not. This is actually pretty clean for me.
Yeah.
Right? I have an obsession with whiteboards.
Okay.
I got to dump everything out of my brain onto these whiteboards and just leave it there because it's gold and I don't want it to ever disappear.
Sure.
I haven't looked at it in a year. They're just there. Because they just don't ever become a priority until I have nothing to do. Then I'll look at that board and pick something. But you're going to see it's psychopathic. It looks like A Beautiful Mind, the movie. You know, when the guy's like writing on the boards all like crazy shit. People are like, you're just walking into my brain.
Yeah.
And I haven't even hung them yet.
Yeah.
And that same person who came to my office was like, you ever going to hang these whiteboards? And I'm like, no.
I want to send you a picture of the whiteboard I have on the floor.
Yeah, they're all on the floor, dude, in here. They're all on the fucking floor, dude.
So I don't do the whiteboard thing anymore, but I have my Josephine who fucking runs my life. She's unbelievable.
I need one, dude.
Yes, you do.
I know.
And I'm telling you, that will take you to the next level.
I know.
And I call Joe. Joe, I need this, I need this, I need this. And I tell her if it's a priority or not. And then she just executes and implements all the ideas and things I've been meaning to do.
Dude. I'm actually, we have an ad out on Indeed right now for a personal assistant.
Yeah.
I fucking need one bad. And
Life
people,
changing.
but dude, here we are back again, right? People are like, oh, is this another one of your things?
No, it's not about that.
Everybody thinks, that's somebody recently that I probably don't hang out with as much. And I was hoping it wouldn't remind me of why I don't hang out as much, but started pointing out my poor decisions in life, you know, and from a place where very conservative living, very careful, very 401k and deferred comp, and like that's how you're going to retire, and like, you know, like
I'm smirking about something else. Not that those are bad ideas. I'm just thinking about a story. But go ahead.
Yeah. It's about me, or you have just another story in general?
A story I want to tell you. Actually.
Okay.
About what's coming up. But
So this is very recent, and I brought up the plane thing.
Yeah.
And the person responded with, "Oh, just like the RV thing, just like the trailer." Just like this. And the response was, you want to lose all your money again? Because the person's aware of my 2022. And instead of engaging, I just took some, I try to like think about like, where is this person at that they're saying things like that? What kind of pain are they in? Where's their butt getting kicked? You know, and I just didn't engage with it. And, I thought to myself, but there was no ever acknowledgement of like what we've built. This is a significant 7-figure company in a very short period of time,
right.
Going into 8-figure land, hopefully sooner than later. It's like signing the contract for Harris, bro. I tell this story. I came home and Courtney said, I was taking my shoes off. I was sitting on the just got a pen on my pants, but I was sitting taking my shoes off. We have a step down into our living room. She was in the kitchen, and I said, I signed a contract today for Harris. And she said, oh, yeah? I go for the conference we're going to do. And there was like a silence. I go, I owe Harris $100,000 no matter what. And she looked over and she's like, what do you mean you owe Harris $100,000? And she goes, people are going to come. I go, I don't know if anybody's coming. I think people are coming. And she went, so if nobody comes, you owe Harris $100,000. I go, I probably owe them more, but I don't even, I think it's 100,000. It's probably more like 125. Just now as it sits, I owe them $100,000. And she said, what do you know about running a conference? And my response was, what have I known about doing anything? And she went, you're right.
Right.
And that confidence. She's just like, if anybody's going to fucking do it. And dude, you know, it was nerve wracking to sign it, but I'm like, fuck it, right? Like, it ain't going to sink the whole ship. I can always make this back.
Yep.
And dude, it was the best fucking 5 days of my professional career. I'm so addicted to it that, bro, I can't wait to this next conference where we're already way over where we were last year in enrollment, and now I think double. I think we're gonna have 2,000 people at this conference instead of 1,000, right? And people are like, this is like their thing they're looking forward to, and you know, it just takes maybe some of those balls or that belief, or maybe two guys saying that you're a killer, and that's just stuck in my head somewhere, right? Like just believing in myself, and it just goes to show you that once you believe in yourself and you start accomplishing some things, other people start to believe in you too. I didn't have to say anything more than that to explain myself.
Yeah. The conversation that you're describing that you had with your friend is a conversation I have with my mom often. I hear about every mistake I've made, every fuck up I've made, and I don't hear about the good decisions often enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get it. And I'm not saying fucking anybody should feel bad for me or anything. I'm just trying to make the point that when you're on a path and you have a mission and you know what you're capable of, you will always have naysayers, and you'll have doubters, and have people pointing out the flaws, and you just gotta have the blinders on. You know what I mean?
You gotta shut the noise out.
That's
dude.
it. Tunnel vision, and you know you got to do, and you know you can do.
I told people here not too long ago. I said, I've got to stop listening to all of you as much. And they're like, well, that's fucked up. I go, no, you don't understand. I'm gonna hear you, but I'm not gonna listen to all of you that much. I have to try. And there was actually a trending thing by Shia LaBeouf. If you actually catch that clip, he's like, I had to get to you've seen it, right? Have you seen it? He goes, I had to get to a point where I had to trust me. And not listen to anybody but myself, and trust the things that and trust that I was going to make good calls and good decisions. But dude, you look at a guy like that, like, he's had some troubling past, but dude, you can't knock the motherfucker's been in significant, I mean, he's one of the 0.00001 of human beings that are in mainstream cinema. So that alone is a huge win.
Sure.
So you got to, people don't understand what this dude's story would have been. And I'm not saying, when I see these celebrities going off the deep end, I'm like, I get it. Now I get it. Now I understand what the fuck you're kind of pressure on, because you're letting the noise in.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, I don't let the noise in. And they were a little offended, but I'm like, guys, I'm telling you, I know that 90% of the time I'm making good calls. And we just can't sit here and fucking harp on the 10%ers. And Brad's brought to my knees this year. Right. I told myself over and over again, I refuse to give up. I will not fucking allow it. And dude, it hit me in the place that I didn't think anybody could hit me. Like they got into the world got into the dojo, bro. You know what I mean? Like that sacred space was infiltrated. And the army came in and it fucking destroyed my palace. And I had to look around and be like, all right, this palace is fucking wrecked. I'm gonna build a new palace. Right. But some people would look at that and go, what am I gonna do now? It's like if my house fucking burnt, I'd be like on Zillow looking for our next fucking plot of land to build something bigger and better.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
that's the mentality. I mean, if people listened to this podcast and heard it any differently than what it was meant to be, which was a good conversation between people who might display characteristics or reveal their mindsets, because if you're looking to have success, this is how we think. Nobody here's bragging. Just so we're clear. This wasn't a brag session. This was just an interesting conversation of how some people came from nothing. And you always hear that thing like, right? Like, if you could do it, I could do it. How fucking true is that, dude?
It's the ultimate truth.
It's crazy.
We're all the fucking same. We're all the same. You know?
It's true.
Yeah.
This is badass. All right, we get Frankie the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
All right, dude, we'll do it again. Guys, if you're in an area where you're trying to get to our classes, but we're not close to you, fret not. We actually have on-demand training at streetcop.com. You can take that course online right now, and then you could attend that training in the future at no additional cost. You can redeem your voucher, so you get 2 for the price of 1. We don't want to deny you the ability to take this training now, especially knowing that it can keep you safe, at a very minimum, putting bad guys in jail where they belong, and at the maximum, going home to your family. Check out streetcop.com for that offer.